Okay, here we go. 622. 622. Same as last week. Isn't he wonderful?
All right, Proverbs. We went through all the way through 13. Secrets of wisdom, devotional reading, practical wisdom. It applies to earthly conditions. It develops the soul and the character. It is God's wisdom. There's the world's wisdom, Christ's wisdom. We looked at all that. Proverbs 8 is the chapter of wisdom. It could be the original wisdom, which is Jesus Christ himself. If you want wisdom, it begins with a relationship with God. Comes from the Lord. We're to seek wisdom. It's a short, popular saying, and we did some of these adages and so on of others. That were, that first one, a penny saved is a penny earned. And we said, who had that one? Who said that?
I did.
Oh, not you did. Not me, do you do? That is a... Ben Franklin. They do have a collector thing, and I saw it in an antique store, where they have all of the Benjamin Franklin hats. There's 4 on a side. They may have had 12 years of it, but then they would put his sayings on one side of the cube is a penny saved.
What does that mean?
A penny saved is a penny earned.
I don't even know what that means.
Well,
Save your money.
save your money. Save your money and earn it. Save your money and earn it.
Well, they used to pay interest in those days. They don't anymore.
You know this thing about money and earning your money. There are those that earn their money by working, and then there's those that earn their money by taking it from others. You know, I think about the stock market. What do they call that in the stock market? When you spike it somehow and then you sell off.
Short selling.
Like is that short sell? I don't know where you say it, you pump and dump.
Up and down, yeah.
Is that short selling?
It's sort of.
Sort of, or not sort of?
You pump it up and then you sell short. In case
Pump and
people...
dump. So you cleverly pump it, then everybody goes hog wild buying it.
Yeah.
Then the guy that's the billionaire sells it off. That's why he's a billionaire. He sells it off at a high price, and he bought it at a low price. And you're caught holding the empty bag.
Moderna and Pfizer CEOs both quit last 3 days.
Who?
Moderna, sorry.
I don't know who that is. I've heard that name. Is that a brokerage?
COVID vaccine people.
It's a pharmaceutical company.
They sold out or they resigned?
They quit, probably because they know what's coming. They don't want to go to jail.
Or they don't want to go to jail. Oh, you know what? I just heard this a day or so ago. Why do they call it a broker? A broker is because they're broke. It's something about being broke.
Pump and dump is Pfizer. And the example is it went from $50 to $400, And all the insiders, the CEOs and all those people were selling last year, and now it's back to 140, and it's quickly going to 60 probably.
Well, there's insider trading. It's still legal to do for the Senate, for Congress. Folks, you're involved in that. You're involved with crooks. They specialize in stealing your money. Because you're not on the end. You're never going to get in on the end. And you don't know the ends. That's what I believe. You don't want to get involved in that. You're just going to get stung. And those that invest in it, you can invest in it, and if you're going to make your 5% to 10%, that's one thing. These guys are raking it in, man.
They did that 4 times in a row before the crash of 29. They purposely crashed the market to achieve their goals.
And by the way, you take the crash at 29, and then you go through history. There was a crash, I think, in 1870, one in early 19... There's like 3 crashes before that.
Yeah.
Major crashes. And it's all shysters stealing money from other people. Back to Proverbs. Let's get started. Father, bless our lesson today, that it would be fruitful, Father, for gaining wisdom and being satisfied where we are in our life now. In Christ, I pray, amen. Just out of curiosity, I want to look up a couple of verses. Colossians 3:21. If we turn there, no, 3:11, excuse me, 3:11. No, you know what? That doesn't mean anything. I don't know why I have it in here. Galatians 3:28 would be the same thing. Certain ones of these Pauline epistles, they run the same.
There's about wisdom you're looking for?
Well, you would think so, but that isn't the case. Another one is 1 Corinthians 12. It has nothing to do with our lesson, but I have it in my, I have it written down in my notes. 1 Corinthians 12:13. That's about.
Yes.
Doesn't say anything about wisdom. It says about Jew or Gentile. One group of people, Jews or Gentiles, are bond or free, and made to drink one spirit. I don't know why I have it in. What this teaches, it's 1 Timothy 2. We'll begin at first. I got 11 through 15. I don't want to read 5 verses. 1 Corinthians 12:13. If we go there, for by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles, whether we bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit. What it means, and then I have the same 2 cross references next to that. It means there's only one way in. One way in. Everybody gets in on the same shadow. Everybody gets in on the same. All right, Galatians 3:28. I'll give you the false doctrine that's preached on this. 3:28. We just go by what the Bible says. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There's neither bond nor free. There's neither male nor female. For you are all one in Christ Jesus. All right, and the other one is Colossians 3:11. These verses are all identical. Where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all in all. So there is, when we're in the church, it's one group of people. There's one way in. It doesn't matter who you are before. There's all the same way to get in. Anybody know the false doctrine that they run to this is where they run to these verses. And it's a gross misinterpretation of the verse. Who uses those verses?
One thing I think of is that there's no Jews. Jews aren't chosen.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, the Messianic Jew, they're all the same. Well, I wouldn't call that a gross misinterpretation. What do they use that for?
No, the doctrine that I'm speaking of is that Israel isn't God's chosen people.
Oh, I see. Is that British Israelites? Or is it referring to something like that? Well, that's not where I was going. Where I was going is since we're all the same, that justifies having one kind of preacher.
Oh, yeah.
Women preachers. Says we're all the same. But it doesn't mean that. We're all saved the same. That's what the verse means. We're all saved the same. It doesn't mean we all have the same role. We're saved the same. But that it's a gross misinterpretation of the verse. And those are the verses they run to prove that she can preach. If she wants to preach, where do they preach?
At home?
They can do that. Where else? And who did it? 4 daughters.
To the children?
Well, that's true too. Four daughters, it's Philip's daughters, preached on the street corner. They could do that. You would then justify Salvation Army on the street, those groups 100 years ago, you could justify that. But man, in the church, it's just forbidden. It's
Well,
just-
God doesn't necessarily want to use a woman, but he will, being Deborah with Barak or...
Well, you say, well, there's no men around. Well, I'll tell you who the news media gives it to. They give it to the girl who won, who was Miss America. They give her the microphone, but they're not going to give it to Lester Roloff. That's what the media is going to do. Who was Miss America? She came out against gay rights. But they won't, they'll give it to her because she's not going to be, she doesn't know what she's talking about, but they won't give it to Lester Roloff. I can't think of her name.
Because Lester Roloff was spilling the beans.
Lester Roloff's going to spill the beans. I'm not saying that the girl was wrong, but she's in the wrong position.
35 years ago, right?
Yeah, well, 35, 40 years ago. I can't think of her name. Anita Bryant. Is it Anita Bryant?
That has happened too, I think, recently.
Another one?
Yeah.
It could be. But see, that's where the news media, the news media is going to want to make fun and put the microphone in front of a person that they know that they can. It's like when they put Jesus on trial in the movies. They're not going to give it to a fundamentalist who's going to go chapter and verse and just blow them out of the water. They give it to Anita Bryant. She came out against it, but she was Miss America. Nobody remembers Anita Bryant. Now log on. Is Anita Bryant Miss America? Anybody got a clicker? Anita Bryant.
We're not allowed to use them at Sunday school.
Yeah, well, you got to prove it. That's got to be 40 years ago. Anita Bryant. All right. It has not. I don't know why I have that down in here, but I do. Proverbs. It teaches how important practical godliness is. Just,
Who's the singer?
Well, they have to have a talent to get up there.
Anti-gay rights.
Anti-gay rights. She's a singer. Was she Miss America? No. When Miss America gets up there, they have to do something other than look pretty.
Have you listened to someone talk?
I know, but they have to have some kind of talent.
You gotta be Oklahoma.
Oh, she was Miss Oklahoma. Winner. Okay, she was not a Miss America. She was Miss Oklahoma. Yeah, and she was a singer. Okay. Practical godliness. It's as an expression caught by the mind, retained in the memory. By the way, what else is kind of retained in the memory? And it's really in your heart. want to call it a proverb. It isn't a proverb. What's it already in the heart? Anybody know what's in the heart? Hebrews chapter...
God's rule, God's law.
God's law's there. Yeah, chapter 2. Or is it? Yeah, chapter 2. God's law's there.
For the unsaved too?
Absolutely. That's God's restraining hand when the kid is ready to do really naughty. There's something that holds him back. And when he's in trouble is when he gets what kind of a mind?
Demented?
No, a seared mind. A seared mind,
Oh, yeah.
then there's no conscience left. And they do what they do. But that's what keeps a lost person from going nuts. Keeps them from going nuts. Okay, proverb, to govern or rule. Pro meaning before, verbum meaning a word. A word, in other words, a word of wisdom before you go. I try to, when these guys are pulling out in their truck, I give them a word of wisdom. I said, be careful. That's a word of wisdom before you go. I said, the machine, it's like this. The machine doesn't respect you. You must respect the machine. Right? If you're running a table saw, if you girls are running, what kind of equipment do you want to be careful of? You're in the kitchen.
A blender.
A blender. They may make it safe so you can't operate it with a lid off. Other than a blender. The oven? Give me another one.
Pressure cooker.
What about a mixer? I tell the wife, whatever you do, don't get your hand
Oh,
in there.
that's what I was talking about.
If you get your hand in that mixer, you're going to have chop suey for a hand.
A blender's what's...
And you know what else? Probably the doctor's not going to put it back together.
Could ruin a recipe.
Another one of those food slicers. You got to be careful. You'll slice yourself up. Always remember, the machine has no respect for you, but you must respect the machine. It's a one-way street there. So when you're on your mower, that mower doesn't care about you. And so you have these safety features on, so if you fall off the mower, you get up, it automatically shuts off. Some of that stuff is good, some of it's unnecessary. They do it in a punch press. You have to have both hands to push the buttons, both of them, to get it to work. Well, what do men do then? Do you know what a man does to bypass that?
Put tapes on one of the buttons.
He tapes one of the buttons off. So he can still push one button and stick his hand in there. So what do they do to stop that? They do stop that. They put a timer on the button. So both buttons have to be pushed within within 2 seconds of each other. So you have to have both hands up there. They force you to do that. So, because they bypass that and tape one of the buttons off. And so always remember, it's a word before you go. A word of wisdom. That's what a proverb is. It's a word of wisdom. Since there are 31 proverbs, there's a proverb for every day of the month. And when we say a proverb, we mean a chapter. We mean a chapter, not just a verse, but it would be a chapter. These are the authors. Solomon, King Solomon is one. Why don't we just go there and read it? Proverbs 1:1. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. By the way, this thing about safety and a word before you go. The biggest accidents that happen for children, if you're having a brush fire and you're going to have a weenie roast, is an unattended brush fire where little children are there and there's no adults. No adults. If they get caught on fire, let's say a girl, her dress catches on fire, what do they do then? She caught on fire.
Run around and feed the flames.
Run around and feed the flames. What else burns on a child other than their skin? Their hair. Your hair will burn like matches. Your hair will go up in flames. Always remember that. Your hair, another one would be boiling water. What do they do with a pig? How do they dress out a pig? Anybody know how they dress out a pig? They string them up with a chain and a hoist, and they dunk them in boiling water. It strips the skin off. It'll strip the hair off, strip the skin off. That's one of the worst things to ever have happen is take the baby, put the baby by the oven in the kitchen, boiling water. And to say it can't happen, oh, famous last words. Famous last words. We had my cousin down the street, across the street, they're about less than a half a mile away. They had a party. They had a 5-gallon coffee maker there. A 5-gallon coffee maker. It was full of hot coffee. It was a toddler. He pulled it over. It burned him, scalded him, and he died. All right? And it's a relative of ours. And it's not the relative that died, it was friends. They had a big party. The kid pulled it over on himself. It scalded his body, and he didn't make it. He was killed. To say that stuff can't happen, it can happen. One at my house is this. If you go out that second story door, you're going to be in big trouble. Big trouble. You know, what is needed on the second story porch? Other than a lock on a door. The door's locked. But busy fingers can get out there. What is needed on that upstairs porch? Pardon? A railing. And probably legally, we're still we talk about it. I don't want to hire somebody, but we're probably going to hire somebody now. We're just going to get a railing up there. What's the railing going to be made out of?
Cast iron.
Cast iron. I want it to be cast iron. What would it normally be made out of? No.
Pressure treated?
No, long before aluminum, long before pressure treated. No, not stone. It's on the top of the roof of the porch. Cedar. It'd be cedar. The cedar doesn't rot. So it's all cedar posts. And then painted white. That's a traditional. But it needs to have that. Not an adult height, a child's height, but it can't fall off.
You need to have anything above 3 feet or 30 inches, something like that.
There's some ruler, but even for little children, you could have it shorter. But if you're a LeBron James and you're up to a certain level,
No, 30 inches off the ground.
yeah, that's what I meant, 30 inches, but LeBron James, or you can take somebody tall, it'll hit him right, he'll still flip over. You know, because they're top heavy. Anyway,
Well, you don't know where you live anyway, so.
I need to do something about that. Anyway, King Augur is chapter 30, Lemuel is chapter 31. The names are given. Those are the authors. The date is about 950 BC because Solomon wrote most of the book. 1 Kings 4:32, if we go there, where it discloses that. We brought it up last week, but we didn't turn there. And he spake 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. Now we say the Song of Solomon was the only one that survived as one song. And if you take all the proverbs, I don't know if you're talking chapters or verses, how many that would be, but what has survived. But that is what is actually recorded. of what Solomon did. Oh, well, there it is. It must be 915 verses. 915 verses. And, okay, the key words: wise, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Key phrase: the fear of the Lord. Proverbs 1:7. Proverbs 1:7. We'll just go there and use one of those. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fear does protect a lot of people. Fear can do that. You say God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of a sound mind and what's the rest of that verse? 2 Timothy 1:7. No, sound mind and give me where the fear of where fear is.
But of power and love and of a sound mind.
Yeah, that's it.
That's one of Shane's memory verses, yeah.
That's it. Give me something where fear is a good thing.
Fear of the Lord.
Well, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. No, just an everyday fearful thing. You're in the middle of Broadway. Along comes a Mack truck. You're standing in the middle, right out here. A big Mack truck, and you hear, would you be afraid? You wouldn't be afraid? You would be terrified. That's a good thing. God's telling you better get out of there. Right? Move out of the way. Right? You put the spirit of that kind of fear in the heart of a child. In the heart of the child. When the mother can't handle it, she would say, you wait, your father, especially when they get a little too big, you wait, your father's coming home, you're really going to be in trouble. And that refrains them from doing wrong. It refrains them from doing wrong. The idea is that you want to get your child under control, and I've given this illustration so that when they're 18, and they did something really, if they're unrestrained, they're going to do some bad things. And they do something really bad where it's against the law. What does the policeman say? And the kid's running.
Stop.
He says, halt, or I'll shoot. The cop's not fooling around. You want your child to stop. And when they're 18, if they have no respect for authority, and when they hear halt or I'll shoot. Now, folks, this law and order thing is going to swing around again. This Black Lives Matter is going to fade out. If the Lord tarries, it's going to swing around where law and order is going to be ruling the roost again. You doubt it? You might be right. You might be right. Another one, I just gave this illustration yesterday, is we know somebody where the kid was it was the one that had the donut shop. It was his grandson. He was on a skateboard, I think it was on a Sunday. He went down the driveway between the cars out in traffic, got hit by a car, and was killed. The grandson. The idea is if they're running and they're going to run into the street, little children, they're not looking to their left or to their right. It's a baby. The baby's looking, he's not going to, I think I should look to the left and the right, see if there's traffic. He's just running. Is they need to listen to your voice when you say stop, that you mean it. Because that could save their life. That's what the Proverbs, that's like a proverb. You say stop, and you mean it. They need to learn that's law and order. And you're doing it for their protection. For their protection. And so that's like saying the fear of the Lord. When you read the proverb, it runs in pairs in these verses. A parallelism or comparisons that are either similar, where it reinforces the verse, or it's the mirror image or the opposite of, is how the verses read. if we were to just pick a proverb, well, I'll just read Proverbs 20, verse 31. The horses, 31, the horse is prepared against the day of battle. That's the first half. But safety is in the Lord. All right, so some put their strength in a horse, and others put their strength in the safety of the Lord. You can say it runs parallel, it runs opposites, but they're stated in pairs, is how these verses run. It's an extremely hard book to memorize. There are people that memorize the entire book. It's very, very difficult to memorize it because it doesn't flow. It's very, very choppy. Topics change. It's very difficult to outline Proverbs, and the topics change really, really fast. So to memorize the book is not easy to do. Synonymous, to show or compare the same or nearly the same meaning, such as, so, as. Give me another one. What we say it's a. What's the other one? Like or as. Is that a metaphor?
Metaphors and similes.
And similes. It'd be like that. To compare it as the same, it is like this. It is like this. In fact, let's go to, I have that in my side over here. Metaphor. Figure of speech in which the term is transferred from the object. It ordinarily designates to an object. It may designate comparison or like or as. Like or as. Proverbs 25, and by the way, God talks like that. And it's an art that can be learned. When you read a book and you're interested in the book, they do that. The difference between the advice that was given by the two priests for Absalom. The one gave good advice, the evil one, to go and get him and get him now, get David right now. The other one's advice was to save David, and they said David is like a she-bear robbed of her cubs. He's really mad, and Absalom, if you go after your father right now, he's gonna be waiting for you. Where David was really down. It's kind of like World War II, when after Dunkirk, I think England had less than 100 machine guns in the entire country. There was less than 100 machine guns in England. Hitler didn't know any of this. He didn't realize how bad England was off at the time. If he had went and invaded right away, he probably would have taken it. But he didn't. They then have what they call the Battle of Britain, of which you could say England won. England just outlasted them, and so on. But the priest that gave Absalom the bad advice used like and as, and people attach to that. When you read poetry, it's like that. It becomes like what you said about the structure. It's very romantic. It's a very appeasing and very pleasant to listen to. And the Bible can read that way, where it's like that. Proverbs 25:11. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pictures of silver. Now I know that verse. Certain verses we memorize. In fact, I have a whole, this particular one I've outlined. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pictures of silver. When you learn to speak like that, it makes the orator, those that's giving the speech, you're more willing to listen. You're willing to listen to that. Verse 20 of the same chapter. As he that taketh away a garment in cold weather, and as vinegar upon nitrate, so is he that singeth songs to a heavy heart. Okay, where they use the word as in there. Verse 25, as cold waters to a thirsty soul, so is good news from a far country. So the word there, as, it is like this. This is similar to this. And that's how these Proverbs run. Proverbs 26, verse 7, another one. The legs of the lame are not equal. So is a parable in the mouth of fools. So the legs of somebody that's handicapped or maybe have been wounded, it's the same thing as the parable in the mouth of the person that speaks foolishly. It's just not a good fit. It's not a good fit. And then we will begin right here, and we'll be able to finish this up next week. We'll move out of Proverbs and move into the next book. So we'll start here. We are going to eat today. We're going to cook out today. It's already getting hot out there. So, anyway, preaching in 15 minutes.